Let me start with a truth that most people never hear or they are never told when they start their career in project management. Your technical skills are going to get you hired, but what keeps you going is your soft skills. What I mean is, most people spend years achieving frameworks, mastering their degrees, working on courses, taking technical skills, but they don't take what is going to keep them going in that project. They don't master what is going to break their project or what is going to make it. And that is soft skills. I've seen someone working so hard with the technical skill. That person walked up to me and told me that I have the skills, but I don't really know how to manage projects. I don't really know how to manage people. I told that person that you are not a problem. You are not missing the knowledge. It is the human skills that you are lacking. And this is what happened in our society today. So many people, or most people, the innovators that we know, the great people, they are not the ones who have the best softwares. They are not the ones who master the best softwares more than any other person. They are the ones who know how to influence, lead with empathy. And those are skills that I'm going to be sharing with us today. In today's episode, I'm going to review to you 7 soft skills that if you master, you're going to change the way you work on your projects. And these soft skills are not the regular ones that we know. You don't see them on textbooks. You only get to experience them. And it's after a while, after I've worked on so many projects, work with people, that I got the experience. You will not see it on LinkedIn posts regularly. These are skills that you get to experience. Let's get into it. And before I unpack these skills, these soft skills, I need you to understand that these soft skills are going to take you a long way. The technical skills that you have, as I earlier mentioned, they are good, they are very important, but these soft skills are very powerful. You need to master them. You need to understand them to get into the world of leadership, to get into the world of managing people, because that is what is going to make you, or it is going to break you. Your number one skill that you need to understand is communication. Communication is very powerful. Not talking. That is what so many people do. They talk. But what I mean is communicating. What that means is you communicate at the right time, you communicate to the right people, you communicate what is essential, and the right people make sure that they understand it. That is communication. When you communicate effectively, there is clarity. It prevents chaos, and people feel valued because they understand what you're saying. Clarity is a form of respect. I mentioned this in my LinkedIn post. When you communicate effectively, there is clarity. People are going to respect you for that. The number 2 skill that you need to understand, you need to master this, is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence cuts across every industry. You need to understand people. You need to understand how people feel. Emotional intelligence is understanding how they feel, how they work, what do they need as an assistant, how can you enable them to perform well. Now look at this from this frame. When a team member doesn't perform well, what do you need? You don't need technical skill. It's emotional intelligence. When a team member feels down, what do you need? Emotional intelligence. When your team is no longer functioning, they feel like they are not heard, you don't need technical skills. You need that emotional intelligence, because that is what is going to give them that momentum, especially when there is pressure, especially when there is doubt. People don't know where to go. It is emotional intelligence that is going to take them from that point of chaos to the point of clarity. Your technical skills are very important, but emotional intelligence plays a very important role. Our next point is something that people often take for granted. They have a different mindset when it comes to that, and that is leadership. It's a soft skill that people get very confused about leadership. Leadership is not commanding people around. It's not being in charge. It is more about responsibilities. And I noticed that so many people get confused when it comes to this. Simon Sinek beautifully said it. He said that leadership is about being in charge of those who are in your charge. And what that means to me is you have to give directions to people. You need to create alignment. It's not about commanding people around, because people always follow where there is energy, not where there is command. And you need to understand that it's not to saying to people that do what I say. It's about collaboration. It's about building. Let's build this together. Leadership is more about building trust, that presence. It's about showing your people that no matter how far we have come, no matter the challenges, I'm going to stay with you. That is what people follow, the energy, not the commands. Before we move to the next point, I need to ask you a favor. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. That will mean a lot to me and to my team. It shows that you value what we're doing here, and that is the simple way, the free way that you can support everything that we're doing here. Thank you. Let's move to our next point. That is problem solving. That is a soft skill that you need to master. As a leader, as a project manager, you're a problem solver. You need to understand that your plans are not always going to be the way you plan it. Things are not always going to move out the way you want it. Clients will quit. Your team members will say no. Your vendors will not be able to satisfy you. But you need to know that in those moments of trials, in that chaos, you need to show leadership. You need to bring that momentum back to the team, because that is what is going to save you. As a problem solver, once you understand that things are not always going to work that way, you are already ready for it. You have to build that momentum, that presence. It is what changes you from being an ordinary project manager, from being just an ordinary leader, to someone who brings extraordinary things. And you need to understand that mindset. Our next point is something that people are taking for granted, and it's already affecting the world. It is affecting so many industries, and if you don't take it to your own advantage, you are going to stay low, and that is adaptability. You need to understand that the world doesn't care about your plan. Projects don't care about your plan. They care about the changes. Things are going to change. Projects are about changing, and adaptability means that you need to stay focused. You need to move in the direction that is going to save your project. You need to say that, yes, it happened anyway, and I think that we need to move in this different direction. That is adaptability, shifting your focus from where you are not supposed to be to the right direction. That is adaptability, and you need to start understanding it. It is very important. Our next soft skill is time management. Time management is your currency in project management. You need to understand that you are not just managing your own time, you are managing every other person's time. You need to understand what is urgent. What do we prioritize? What do we commit to? What has high capacity? You need to understand these things, because if you don't know this, it will be very difficult for you to manage your time and to manage every other person's time. It is very important that you get to adapt and you get to manage your time effectively. Our next point is a very common point. It happens in every industry, and that is conflict. Conflict unmanaged is what is dangerous. Conflict is not a problem, but unmanaged conflict is what affects every industry. It is inevitable. It is not a question of, is conflict going to happen? The question is, how do we resolve the conflict? Because it's always going to be there. It is always going to come. And the way you manage your conflict is what saves your project. Now, people are going to be under pressure. People are going to fall down. But how do you resolve this? You need to listen. You need to see it from their own point of view. As a leader, you're going to bear all these emotions. That is why I earlier mentioned that leadership is more about taking responsibilities. It is more about being in charge of those who are in charge. You don't command people around. You need to understand that. That is the only way that you are going to be able to solve that conflict. And if you have listened to this episode right up to this moment, it shows that you are ready to grow, not just as a PM, but as a better person, because these soft skills are going to enable you to move to that direction. And here is my message for you. You can become exceptionally good at being a project manager or being a leader, not because of what you know, but because of who you are becoming. And if anything I've shared with you today resonated, if it sparked a thought, a question, or even just a feeling, then hit that subscribe button. And my promise to you, alongside with my team, is to consistently bring you real, honest, and valuable content that helps you figure out project management, leadership, one conversation at a time. Thank you for being here.